Hello guys, how are you all doing? So, I've been out and about recently. So what I've done recently is I went and saw Cinderella, written by Andrew Lloyd Bloody Webber in the West End. And this is my review.
I actually went to go see Cinderella, not James, and this is my review.
God help us.
Oh, I look really short.
You do, you do. Are you excited to be on the Nerdy Brit channel?
I'm very excited.
You've done the podcast, now you get to do the Nerdy Brit channel.
And I've done all three now.
Oh yeah! Mad!
Oh my god!
So, I have to admit, I haven't seen Cinderella in the West End, but I thought I could interview someone who just saw it and still get a review for you guys, because, you know, I had a lot of fun reviewing stuff in the West End, and I think some of you guys subscribe for it and enjoy it. So, let's talk about Cinderella on the West End. Now, this is Jess. Now, I'll try and dampen her worst impulses, but, you know, let's see if we can get a good review out of her. How are you today, Jess?
I'm really good, thank you. It's a very hot day, it's very sunny.
We actually do have to... So, this is like video making, like sacrilege. I have to keep the window open. So, like, you know, like it's going to be a bit
If you hear any seagulls and you're annoyed by it, fuck off. Go to a different channel.
I'm definitely editing that out because I want them to stay. I like the view.
I'm joking, guys.
So, Jess, can I have your overall thoughts on Cinderella the musical? How was Carrie?
I didn't see Carrie.
Oh, I wanted to put Carrie Hope. I'm still going to... Sorry, that's why Carrie Hope Fletcher the title, guys.
So, basically, if you didn't know, the cast of Cinderella, certain roles are split into two. So, I actually saw Georgina instead of Carrie. And to be quite honest, controversial, from the clips I've seen of Carrie, I think I do prefer Georgina.
Ooh.
Purely because I feel like her voice suits it more, because from the clips I've heard of Carrie Hope Fletcher, she sounds very mature, and I believe Carrie is older.
Yeah, no, she's in her... If she's not in her 30s, she's close.
Yeah, and her voice sounds very mature for, like, the age.
So does the innocence of Georgina work better with the character?
Definitely.
Cool. That's what we love to hear. What about Sebastian? Is that his name?
Yeah. So I really love Ivan as an actor.
He's got a very bubbly personality on his socials.
And I believe this is his first lead job.
And he
since leaving.
Did you see him?
I did.
Because he sounds great on the soundtrack.
He is amazing.
What did you think of the show?
So, the show is mediocre. It's not great. Act 2 is definitely better than Act 1. I would go to see it just for Act 2. Act 1 felt very caricature, pantomime-y Christmas vibes. Act 2 is when we started to get a bit more deep and nitty-gritty, which was, to be honest, better.
I didn't expect we were going that slatery.
I've got a lot of slatery notes, I'm afraid.
So, can we give us like a general overview of Act 1?
So, the main thing that I have a problem with is that it took about 20 minutes to actually get into the show. Because
I find that on the soundtrack that like, because I didn't get through the whole soundtrack because like those, like, maybe not 20 minutes, but I found the first 15 minutes so trudgy and that was difficult to get through. So were there any good little highlights, like bits you liked, like plot points that really worked, any jokes that landed, characters that worked?
So the first major song, which is Bad Cinderella, I thought that was impeccable. It was the first song that picked up the show, and since that song went on, everyone kind of got into the groove of it, which I thought was great. Georgina did a really good job. The love story between the prince and Cinderella was very clear at the start. It was kind of a bit, what's that word? When, you can tell what's going to happen.
A bit predictable.
Predictable. It was a bit predictable, however, it was sweet. Can I give a spoiler alert?
We just have to give them like a mild or a...
It's like mild spoiler alert.
Okay.
So, if you didn't know, you can pay extra to sit in the first quarter of the theatre.
Wait, that's a spoiler?
You'll find out why.
Okay, sure.
And so, at the beginning of Act 2, the stage actually revolves and the seats move in the ball.
That's sick.
Yeah. So the first quarter of the show move with the stage and you end up opposite on the other side, and then the stage ends up in the middle of the theatre. So you get to see them all dancing in a revolve, and it's really cool.
That sounds quality.
It was my favourite part of the whole show.
So you're saying if you got a chance to book, would you recommend? I presume you didn't sit.
So when I originally booked before everything COVID, I was meant to be sat in those seats. I knew something was going to happen with the seats, but they didn't say what it was. And then I got booted out because of COVID, rebooked for not the moving seats, which was quite sad. However, watching it happen was really cool.
I should say, so I was booked to... I've also been booked to see Cinderella. If you're familiar with me, there was a week where I saw Be More Chill, then Joseph, then Come From Away. I booked Be More Chill as our last minute replacement for Cinderella, because that was the week when, so Monday was the press night, and then I was booked to see it Wednesday.
Which was when I was supposed to see it.
You were supposed to see it press
Yeah.
night? Monday?
Yeah.
You got to the press... Bougie? Well, we heard that was cancelled, and then we were pretty much like, well, they're not going to rearrange the press night for Wednesday, are they? So we thought we were fucked.
So overall, I would say the whole storyline was very rushed in Act 1.
Okay.
So the last song before we go into the interval is when Cinderella turns from ugly to pretty. It suddenly became really random. It became very futuristic, aliens, that kind of vibe, which doesn't match the vibe of the show at all. We suddenly went from very foresty cottagecore to all of a sudden I've moved to Mars and there's Star Treks around me. So that was a bit weird. I didn't like that, if I'm totally honest. So because it's a revolving stage, it doesn't matter where you sit in the theatre. And I was sat on the side, you know, one of those seats where it gives you a warning you won't be able to see. It was fine. It was perfect.
So is that a way to save? Obviously, but if you live in the Americas, or if you're going to book a last minute ticket, is your advice?
Yeah.
You can get away with a cheap ticket and have a great experience.
You really can. And what's great as well is, I know I've mentioned the ball before, and I've mentioned how everything was quite low energetic. I feel like this has been quite negative. A really nice positive is that during the ball, the characters actually come out into the audience, even if you're at the back. So you still get the sense of involvement, which I think is really nice, because some of the characters were just sat on the side of the steps where I was sat, and they were doing their own character thing, and I thought that was really nice to watch. So overall, I came out the theatre feeling very underwhelmed, if I'm totally honest. I said I do want to see it again with the other cast. However, don't rush to go and see it.
So I guess the interesting, because I remember, for example, when I saw after I saw Hamilton, I pretty much did a review gushing about it, and then looked at it on the lines of, would I recommend you see it? And I ended up with the answer of no. Not because it was bad, because I think it's so similar to the Disney Plus show, because I think it's interesting to look at our different perspectives in terms of you live in London and you can go see more just because you don't have, you have somewhere to stay in London, you don't have to factor in like big transport costs. When I go to London, I'm also paying for, the amount of transport I need, like the place I need to stay. So look at it from both perspectives, and also from the perspective from the UK. We've got a month left. Tickets will be selling out. Would you recommend people go and see it if they're in London? Would you recommend people make it part of their West End summer plans if they're from more like my perspective?
So I would say there are really good aspects of it, like the ensemble. It's worth it for the ensemble work. They all worked really well together. I would say if you already live in London and you don't have to spend a lot of money having to stay overnight and you get a cheap ticket, then I think it's worth it.
If, for example, someone has one ticket and they're really interested in Cinderella, but they're also really interested in another property, is Cinderella worth it if they're really interested in another thing on the West End?
No, not at all.
So you think there are much better things on the West End?
I 100% think there's much better things on the West End.
From the way you've described it, it doesn't sound fantastic.
I went in there with a really open mind. I wanted to love it. I can't find the reason for me to love it other than the ensemble.
Any closing thoughts on Cinderella, the bloody musical?
I do think they have a decent soundtrack, to be fair. Some of the songs I do listen to. Apart from that, 4.5 out of 10.
Thanks for watching. Thank you guys very much for watching. I know this was a bit different. I hope you enjoyed her perspective. If this gets views, I'll do it again. Not if you liked it. You know, if no one watches it, then I won't do it again because I like views. And also, what I'm going to do just for you guys is, if you want to see more of her, I'm going to put a podcast to the Mediocre Best podcast, my podcast, but it's the episode that she went on. Spoiler alert: we throw our crock out the window, and it's on her face right now, so you can't actually like.
What's on my? Oh.
The episode's on. Well, they can't see your face right now because the episode's over your face. They can hear your voice. Well, no, it's still over. It's still over. I'm going to mask this. Bye!